Happy Saturday. Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Wildness is going on in Michigan. Another coach, another screw up. It's unbelievable what is going on up there. Juwan Howard fired. Ward Manuel is in the chopping block. The plan at the running back position, as of right now for Tuesday's practice, has been somewhat revealed. We're going to go through that. Obviously, Ryan Day is taking his time, making sure that he finds the right candidate to coach the running backs. But even still, if we hire a running backs coach today, he's still going to need a lot of help to learn the offense and actually coach it the way he needs to. So, Chip Kelly, come on down. You are now our new de facto running backs coach. Glad handing it. I think he's going to do a great job with it. So he'll be working with the backs come Tuesday. So we're going to get into all that, take your questions. Hope you guys are having a great Saturday, as always. Appreciate you guys, as always. RepTheScoop.com is live. Our gear is flying off the shelves. A huge number of orders. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. All the proceeds go to pay it forward. Same as our super chats. Again, if you guys have questions going forward, the super chats are a great way to get exactly what you want. Talk to the experts, talk to myself and Nevada. We'll get you guys squared away right away. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like. Click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. I want to say a special, I don't know if it's condolences or prayers, but for anyone that was affected by these tornadoes that have hit Ohio, we're thinking of you. Be strong. It was devastating throughout the area. The sirens are going like crazy a couple of nights ago. So again, we're thinking about you guys. We know that there was mass casualties, a lot of devastation. So we are thinking about you here at BuckeyeScoop.com. Again, I hope that most of you weren't affected. But I know a lot of people were. So again, we're thinking about you. We're praying for you guys. Hope that you guys have a full recovery. And for those of you that lost loved ones, you're in our prayers, and we're thinking about you because the devastation was really brutal around Indian Lake. A lot of these campgrounds, it was not good. So we're thinking about you guys. With that being said, we're gonna get into the show now. Nevada, another day, another screw up by Michigan. Greg Scruggs got popped for an OVI late night, like 3 a.m. James Yoder, who is a friend of the Scoop and the only good Michigan person that exists, mentioned this was his third arrest related to alcohol and driving since 2011. He was a player at Louisville, played for the Seahawks, and now he's in Ann Arbor. Your thoughts on this? Obviously, Yoder spoke of him being suspended indefinitely. Sean Moore obviously has a decision to make. Likely will fire him. But your thoughts on Greg Scruggs? Again, this is spring break for Ohio State and Michigan concurrently. The D-line coach gets popped for an OVI, which is insane when a guy is making $700,000 a year that he would be drinking and driving. But your thoughts on it?
Well, just so much stupidity here. In this age of Uber and Lyft, there's no reason for drunk driving. There's just no reason for it. This is like rule number one with my kids. I'm like, guys, if you drink, I'm not going to be here and say I don't think you'll ever drink. But if you do, just call an Uber. Everybody, what I gave them early in life was an Uber app on their phone, and I'm like, just call an Uber, go home, do the thing. There's no excuse for drinking. To me, it shows a degree of recklessness and stupidity. People can say, "Oh, it's a sickness," and dude. The drinking part's the driving part is the stupidity part. So you can be sick, but then you can still be stupid. And the fact that this guy was part of the Magnificent 10 that Sharon Moore, the dream team that Sharon Moore had put together for to bring Michigan football, into the 2030s and the new playoff thing, and this is the greatest staff ever assembled. I mean, what a joke! What a joke! It shows me that this is again just another example of the program being out of control. I mean, everything is out of control up there at Michigan. This guy's got to be fired. I think he will be fired. I don't think Sharon Moore. I mean, Sharon Moore's not like the brightest bulb in the house, but even he's got to see that he's got to fire this guy. And I don't think he's got it. He'll do that, and the Michigan fans will applaud. They'll be like, "Oh, see, look how heroic he is. He fired him." It's just he should never have hired him in the first place. I mean, his issues have been well documented, well known before he got there. The fact they did it again, like I said, it's just absolutely amazing. Par for the course for Michigan football, par for the course for Michigan athletics, and just another dark day for them, and embarrassing. Just a series of, like, every day you just wait for more and more to be more and more embarrassing, and it just never ends. So just another typical day for Michigan during the offseason.
Yeah, they've had a rough go, and again, if you're Kenneth Grant and those two good defensive tackles, like, do you want to be on your third D line coach in the last 6 or 7 weeks? Some breaking news, very interesting. Justin Fields has been moved to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Bears got a 6th round pick for him, and it can upgrade to a 4th round pick based upon playing time. Nevada, obviously, this is very interesting. They signed Russell Wilson to a 1-year deal. They get Justin Fields basically on a 1-year deal because his option is like $30 million, so they're not going to pick that up in all likelihood. Are you surprised by this? Obviously, the Bears are going Caleb Williams, kind of resetting that cap space. But this is I mean, that is not a lot of compensation for a guy who was a 1st round pick, 3 years ago in the 2020 draft. I mean, he played that last game against Alabama, went pro. The Bears at most are getting a 4th round pick for Justin Fields. Are you surprised by that? I mean, his market somewhat evaporated, not being viewed as a starter. Obviously, they're saying they're going to start Russell Wilson ahead of him. What's your reaction to the Justin Fields trade?
Well, I think the Bears just played this completely wrong. I think there was a market for him, and they were asking way too much. If you talk to people they were insisting they were going to get a 2nd round pick for him, and they were just never going to get a 2nd round pick for Justin Fields. And I think they overplayed their hand. And now you see that the other teams went out and filled their needs either through free agency or trades or whatever they could do. But at the end of the day, they didn't have any suitors. There just wasn't any. You just look around the room and say, who were the potential landing spots for Justin Fields? There just weren't a lot. So frankly, a 6, moving maybe to a conditional 4th. Based upon the conditions I read, I don't think it'll move to conditional 4th. It'll probably end up being a 6th round pick. I just think the Bears. Look, the Bears. I'm a Packers fan, so while I wanted the Bears to do the right thing for Justin, I knew that they would do the Bears thing, and this was just a very Bears thing for them to do, and they did it, and they're going to go with Caleb Williams. And I'm not sold on Caleb Williams. I'm going to go on record and say that right now. Now, he could turn out to be the greatest quarterback of all time, and you guys will play this clip back and we say, let's laugh at Nevada. Didn't think Caleb Williams was going to be a Hall of Famer. I don't see it. I don't see it. I watched him play a lot. I'm not convinced that he's going to be that guy, but we'll see. They obviously are. They're willing to kind of bet the future. They've actually got a good roster, and they've made some other good moves, but I think they're making him. So I would have ridden with Fields and just loaded that roster up with talent around him and gone and won. But that's just the way that I would have approached it. And the Bears went and did what the Bears do. And now Justin's with the Steelers, which is one of my least favorite teams. But I always root for Justin, but not on the Steelers.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting because Justin. Obviously, teams don't think much of him as a pocket thrower, but he's a dynamic guy. He moves the chains. Has had a lot of help there, and I mean, you look at what they've done. They've got they added Keenan Allen, they added DeAndre Swift. They could take another offensive lineman high in the draft, but I'm a little surprised that all they got was a 6th round pick for him because it seems like it's still a little. But essentially, you've got Justin on a 1-year deal, so you're giving up a 6th round pick for Justin for 1 year because again, he's got an option. His 5th-year option is going to be $28 to $30 million based on where he was picked. So it's not going to be, they're not going to exercise that unless he comes in and just balls out. But it puts Russell Wilson in a very interesting spot because, he's on a 1-year deal as well after having a disastrous campaign in Seattle. And does he have anything left in the tank? But, when you do this move, there's always going to be a segment of the fan base that wants to see Justin Fields instead of Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson was, he was rough last year. I didn't think it was terrible, but he wasn't, obviously they paid him like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Obviously he wasn't that. Obviously, when you're not going anywhere, like Denver is not going anywhere, it's better just to tear the whole thing down to the studs. Again, I think that the best way, if you're going to rebuild a roster and you've got an ownership group that understands what a rebuild entails, like it's get it all the way down to the studs. It means trade every good player, get as many draft picks as you can, get as much cap space as you can, and then build it back slowly. And I think that that's what, again, Ryan Poles, it's so funny that I say this, was my teammate when I played for the Chicago Bears. And Ryan was an undrafted free agent. He was so bad they couldn't put him in a game, and now he runs the show, which is hilarious to me. Because Ryan was never a guy like, when you're a rookie in the NFL, the rookies all live in the hotel together. We all kind of hang out together. So Ryan was never a guy that struck me as like, man, he's going to be a neurosurgeon of a general manager one day when I hung out with him. But he made this move, and again, I always thought going into the NFL draft that the thing I would look at was, resetting that salary cap structure with the quarterback, because with Justin, if he's your guy, you got to re-up with him, and you're going to be paying him $30 million a year over the next, 6-7 years, whatever, or 5 years. And if you go Caleb Williams, then you've got him on that manageable deal, which is, $10 million a year, which is, again, it's still a lot of money, but in NFL world, it's not. I mean, Pat Mahomes is making 50. So, when a guy goes from 10 to, say Caleb Williams sets the world on fire and he's a Pro Bowler and he comes up after 4 or 5 years and they got to give him like a Joe Burrow deal or a Mahomes deal, then you got to pay that guy $50 million a year, 55, 60 million a year if he's really good. So, like Justin would have been at 30. So, when you go from 10 million a year at your quarterback to 30, it's a whole different ball of wax in terms of constructing your roster. And again, that roster that Caleb Williams is going to walk into is pretty good, dude. They just got Keenan Allen, who had the best season of his career this past year, for a song. Because again, Jim Harbaugh is ripping apart that Chargers receiver. I mean, he cut Mike Williams, traded Keenan Allen for like a 4th round pick, so he could keep Bosa and Khalil Mack essentially. But like I said, they added DeAndre Swift. They already had DJ Moore. So I mean, like if you're your top 2 receivers as a combo platter is Keenan Allen and DJ Moore, that's really good. And then Cole Kmet, I think, is a really athletic, talented tight end. And DeAndre Swift, I think, has got some gas in the tank, and he's a guy that they gave a good contract to. So, like, there's going to be some real skill there for Caleb Williams. And it's kind of disappointing that, like, Justin's not going to get to have, Keenan and DeAndre Swift as 2 of his, mainstays back there. So, yeah, I thought that was very, very interesting. So I think it's going to be interesting. And again, when you do this though on your roster, I've seen, they're gonna put Russell Wilson installed as the starting quarterback. And I mean, after the first 2-3 and outs in the first quarter of the first game, people are gonna want Justin Fields. That's why this is a really curious move. And Justin might end up being their franchise guy. Because again, I like Justin. I think Justin is really talented. I think he's really a good player. But I don't know. For me, I do you think Nevada, in your opinion, will Justin be a long-term answer for the Steelers, or is this a stopgap?
That's a great question. I mean, I could see him stepping in there and kind of doing the job. I mean, I think he's going to be a guy that's kind of in that Baker Mayfield role where you're in that $30-35 million a year range, and that's going to be a value for a quarterback position right now. And it's funny you talk about the Bears lineup. The Bears are going to be doing that. They've got they've got Keenan Allen. They've added Swift, but you've got a rookie quarterback. You know what I'm saying? And a rookie quarterback is still a rookie quarterback. And you look at the quarterbacks that have kind of gone through the league, and even really good ones take a while to kind of get there and kind of get the thing done. And I think for the Bears, I think they had a chance to kind of do it with Fields. I think Fields had done some great things last year, had a chance to really kind of build on that. And they're tossing it all in there. But a guy like Fields in Pittsburgh, Russell Wilson is not going to be the answer. So I think he could step in there. He could move the team, do the thing. I think he's Mike Tomlin's type of quarterback. And, I think the way that they like to run the ball and do some of the things, I think that'll play perfectly into Justin Fields' game. And I could see him having a nice career there for sure.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting because again, like they got him for a song. He's going to be ultra motivated. Obviously, him and Russell are on 1-year deals. So, I mean, they're both playing for their careers. Obviously, they're in much different stages, much different age brackets. But I think that's one of those scenarios where I love it because it's all the marbles are on the table. Like, if you want to keep playing in the NFL at a starter level, you got to be really competitive in OTAs, really competitive in minicamp, really competitive in preseason camp. And I think it's a recipe. Like, I think it's good for the Steelers. Like, I think that they got 2 of the top, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, I think they got 2 of the top 32 quarterbacks on their roster, and they're paying them basically nothing. I mean, compared to like what other guys are making. So I think you let the best man win and have at it. We have some super chats. I'll be OHIO. Thanks for being a Scoop Ultra member. Thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, my man. Any word on how the running backs are feeling after being ghosted by Alford? I think they're putting on a pretty good face. I think Trey Henderson, he put out a nice tweet where, love you and mean it. And again, I wouldn't expect anything else because Trey's a very, very classy kid. He wants the best for everybody. And again, I think that's part of the deal with when something like this goes down. I mean, there's going to be the people that are salty, like Adam and salty. And then there's the people that are like, well, you got to do what's best for your family and blah, 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 blah. So, Trey put out a tweet, and I'm going to toss it up on the screen real quick, where he basically, hey, thanks, fam. So thankful that God allowed us to cross paths, coach. God got you, coach. Love you. It shows him like, hugging, and there's Tony and big kiss right here and hug and kiss. And again, that's what I expect out of this generation. I really do. I expect them to, everything's sweet, everything's fine, everything's lovely. Take care of your family, do what's best for you. And again, that's fine. That's not how I'd have approached it. Like if Jim Bowman left me and went to Michigan for whatever reason, like I wouldn't have been like, it ain't all sweet. If Jim Tressel would have left me and gone to be the head coach at Michigan, like it wouldn't have been sweet. But again, that's Trey. Trey's a good kid, very, very, very religious, very Christian, which is great. But Nevada, like, I feel like, if you're James Peoples, you're probably going to feel some type of way because, you committed to this guy. You thought he'd be your coach for the next 3 to 4 years. Obviously, he's gone. Again, like, it's kind of like the Mike Weber deal. Like, Mike Weber signed his letter of intent, and the next day, Stan Drayton left and went to the Chicago Bears. Like, that was a contract that was done in ink and whatever. And, I don't know. Are you surprised by Trey's reaction? You're probably not. But how would you have reacted if you returned for your senior year and your coach? Because again, here's the thing. Like, I get if Tony Alford leaves. Like, Stan Drayton, what he did he do Mike Weber dirty a little bit? But at the end of the day, like, there's no real good time to leave when you're a coach. There's no good time. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Is like in that profession, it's like you're in a marriage and you just leave and there's not a good time. You can't like say, oh, we're going to do it this time, that time. There's never a good time. But, like to go to Michigan that's the problem I have because there's 1,000 jobs that you could have, coordinator, running backs coach across the country. But like to go to like literally like the worst place on earth, the arch rival, that is what I would be bent on. But what are your thoughts about on how Trey reacted and how some of the other team guys on the team reacted?
Well, for Trey, first of all, I hate saying like you're representing any views as being all the team because as you know, there's over 100 guys on the team and everybody's got kind of a different viewpoint. Let's just say Trey's response is completely consistent with who Trey is. I could have guessed. I would have bet almost down to the word what he would say or what he would put out. Now, what I can say to you from talking to other players on the team, they're not quite as charitable in terms of their viewpoint on Alford and what he's done, how he did it. And as you said, look, the leaving's bad. There's never a good time to leave. There are better times to leave. You can leave when there's other coaches that are leaving and there's jobs that are open and it's kind of like the season when you're doing it because you kind of leave your team in the lurch when you do it during spring football because the jobs are filled and people have kind of gone and there's not as many guys on the market. So that, there may not be a good time, but there are bad times. That's a bad time. And then to go to Michigan, it's literally the only job where we'd even have a discussion about Tony Alford. If Tony Alford was going to the 49ers or to Texas or to Alabama or whatever, honestly, we wouldn't even have a second. We'd be like, that's a shame. Tony, okay, let's see what we can do to upgrade, blah, blah, blah. But Michigan, and some of the players do not understand because they've talked to Tony and they listen to him and all his BS, and they're just like, what a liar. I mean, what a liar. This guy's speed is so, oh, yeah, we got to beat the ball. No, you don't even wear blue in here. And the fact that he could do that, I mean, for them, they feel like it's a clown show. But Trey's reaction, not surprising. But let me tell you, from having talked to more than a few other players, They really think it's kind of comical that he did it, and they're certainly ready to move on as we are as well.
I think that the thing about it is that, there's going to be guys that, again, they know the family, they know the wife. Maybe Tony might have confided in them a little bit. And, like players aren't stupid. I mean, again, I know that they're players and they're young and they're not privy to a lot of the high level conversations that go on inside the staff room. But, they can tell when their guy's getting a raw deal. And again, it wasn't like it was some secret that in December, Tony was very much on the chopping block. I mean, there was a lot of rumors about him. Does he come back? Does that, Quinshawn shows up and everything seems like it's hunky dory. But again, like when that round of extensions came along and they extend like Keenan Bailey and like last year they extended Parker Fleming, they hand out these extensions to people that have literally no market and are completely worthless. And then Tony Alford, who's been here for 10 years, been loyal, he's been like a below average recruiter. He's been an average running backs coach, but he's a good program guy, a lot, energy guy. A lot of the players like him and whatever. And they don't extend him. So I mean, you could kind of tell that the writing was on the wall. But even still, like going to Michigan is such a scumbag move, especially like when you set these players or families, and you literally go to the arch enemy. And I think that that's the thing that I would have a big bone about because again, I know that it's not. The rivalry isn't anywhere near like Ohio State doesn't understand the rivalry the way that they used to under Trustle and Urban because a lot of these guys they're not Ohio State guys, they're not from Ohio, so they don't really understand Ohio State Michigan the way that they need to. But like to literally switch sides in the middle of some of these guys' careers is insane. I mean, it's crazy to me. And again, Tony, he did what was best for Tony, And again, there's some people that we had major disagreements with on BuckeyeScoop.com that said, "Oh well, no matter what, you always have to do what feels best for you." And I was like, "That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. That's the most selfish, stupid way you could ever live your life." And I'm like, "What a selfish idiot would ever say that?" And we had people saying that. And again, Nevada, I think that you're with me on this, but like, to stab your players in the back, to stab Ryan Day in the back, to stab, the people that you've talked about. And it's not just your running backs. I mean, it's people that were tight with you to stab them in the back and go to literally the arch nemesis is insane to me. But again, like we had that little riff on our board, but like your thoughts on that, because there's a segment of people that are just like, oh, Tony. And again, a lot of it is because Tony was the biggest source in the entire Woody Hayes for all of the media, except us. We don't talk to Tony, but everybody else talked to him and they're all crying the blues because their number one source is now gone and he went to Ann Arbor, so now he's worthless and they could actually go work and find a new source. But like your thoughts on the people that are like, oh, you got to do what's best for you at all times, regardless of any consequences, Nevada.
Yeah, I just don't understand how anybody can live without a moral compass or without any ethical guidelines. I mean, if the whole world was that way, I mean, I just choose not to associate with people like that. I don't have anybody in my circle of friends that has that worldview. I can just tell you that I just don't, because that's just so inconsistent with how I was raised. And nobody says don't be a capitalist or don't do things, but like, man, just to sell everybody out for a couple of shekels, nah, that's not me. And to justify it, I like I said, I don't have any words. Everybody's got to walk their own path, but that's not the path that I'm walking. That's for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. We got our next super chat. Tater Buck, what's up, brother? Appreciate you being on here. You're on here about every night, so appreciate your support. Thank you for the 10. Read a few articles and seen on TV that they're looking to federally regulate NIL to make it fair. Any info on this? Caleb Williams is not all that. Totally agree with Nevada OH. I think that they got to go to the federal government for this. I mean, there's no other way to regulate NIL and make it fair without going to the feds, and I think that that's what's going to end up happening. But the federal government moves like a tugboat in a sport versus a sport that is more like a speedboat. So it'll be interesting to see how fast it can come. But I think that in terms of making it fair, I don't know what fair is. Like I don't know what that means. Again, because I've talked to people and there's people that like want to put a cap on NIL. There's people that want to say, oh, everyone should make the same. everybody at a certain school should make the same. And I don't agree with any of that. I think that guys that are productive and prolific and or guys that have more brand value should make more. Because again, it doesn't, NIL doesn't necessarily uh, translate to how good of a player are you. It translates into how marketable are you and how much do people care about you. I don't know if anybody made more money last year than Livy Dunn, the LSU gymnast. She's a gymnast. She's beautiful. She's talented, but she's not like the greatest gymnast in the world. But she's pretty. She has a huge following on Instagram, TikTok, all that kind of stuff. So she has a higher value than someone who's of equal talent playing football because of how big her following is. And the same with Angel Reese, and the same with there's some guys like D. Stroing was a guy who famously, like 7 or 8 years ago, gave up his scholarship at Central Florida because he was a kicker, and the NCAA said you can't make money on YouTube, and he literally quit football because he was making so much money on YouTube. So I think that I don't know what fair looks like on NIL, because I do not agree that everyone should make the same amount of money. Like it's just like, it's not throw all the money into a pot and the fifth string right tackle makes the same as the starter, because I think if you do that, it takes you right back to where you were pre-NIL. And again, I'm a free market guy. I like free markets. I think if you're talented and you're good at what you do, you should get paid. And the talent doesn't have to be apparent. It can just be, implied, or maybe somebody just loves you and wants to give you an NIL deal. I helped get a really good player a $25,000 NIL deal last week. A really good deal. Nice kid. He hasn't played a snap at Ohio State yet, but there's implied benefits to both sides. So let's do it. But I don't think that you can put a cap on NIL. I don't think that everyone should make the same. So it'll be interesting to see how it is. Like, again, the thing I don't want is, I don't want there to be a cap, because then there's still going to be, then you just bring back the bagmen. So say you cap Jeremiah Smith at 50 grand a year and his value is, 20 times that or whatever. Like, that doesn't help anybody, because he's still going to get illicit money from elsewhere. And that's where Ohio State struggled in the past, because under Tress, under Urban, under Thad, we didn't just overtly pay players like they did in the SEC. So we lost a lot of recruits, and it used to really like make me angry, tick me off. There's a lot more colorful language I could use to describe the situation, because we knew teams were cheating. We didn't cheat. But, and again, I'm not saying that guys that played at Ohio State didn't get bags of money or cars or whatever, because again, I'm not stupid, but it wasn't overtly and a sophisticated system like it was in the South, and again, and it really wasn't even that sophisticated, because there were photos, and you can go look at Dre Kirkpatrick's mom driving a new Cadillac CTS, and so some of the stuff in her tag said like Dre's mom. She's destitute, but she's got like a brand new awesome car. So it's like, it wasn't really that hidden. But I don't want to go back to, okay, Ohio State athletes or college football athletes can only make a maximum of 100 grand, and that's it. And then the bagmen come back. Because the thing about this, the best part about NIL right now for Ohio State is the fact that we're as competitive as anybody in the country, because we've got a lot of money, we spend it, and we're getting Caleb Downs and Quinshon Judkins and Will Howard and all these great players. So I don't want it to go back to the old system where we weren't competitive, because it wasn't because we didn't have the money. It's because, like, ethically, we had, a huge compliance department. We couldn't cheat. We didn't have the bagmen that were, as sophisticated as the Southern guys and the Dallas guys and that type of thing. So I don't want that kind of cap. But Nevada, what are your thoughts on the feds trying to regulate NIL?
I think it's well intentioned. Like I said, I think I had a different view of Nick Saban's, trip to Capitol Hill. I actually thought it was heartfelt, and I thought, there's nothing in it for him. He's out of coaching, so it's not like he's trying to gain an advantage so he can win more national championships. I think he really believes that the stuff that's going on right now is, changing the game, for what he believes is for the worse. So I don't know. I really have mixed feelings about it. I go back and forth. I don't think you're never going to go back to the days where players are eating ramen noodles and stuff like that. That's not going to happen. But some sort of a good sense cap on things. I mean, if that meant that, yes, you do introduce the bagman again, but there's severe federal regulations or something, penalties against that, not just NCAA sanctions, but some sort of legal sanctions against that. I could be down with that, but there'd have to be a lot of details worked out on it. I think everybody pretty much agrees that NIL right now is not working the way that the best people intended it to, even though we knew immediately this is what it was going to be. But we'll just have to wait and see, what they come up with. I'm not confident the government can come up with a great plan, but if they came up with a great plan, I certainly would endorse it.
My problem is, I don't want the government anywhere near anything that I care about because they're so grossly incompetent, especially this regime. I don't want them anywhere near NIL, just being honest. We got a super chat, so this is a good time to bring up the store. Travis Hall, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, brother. I will see you at the Scoop outing on April 13th at Buffalo Wild Wings, Lane and High Street, 9 a.m. We need all of you guys to show up and kick it and have some beer and have some wings before the spring game. Travis, snagged the Nike Polo. Get yours while you can. So if you guys have not been in the shop, which is at repthescoop.com, repthescoop.com, we added a very exquisite Nike Polo. So this is very sharp. We're excited. We had a ton of people that were blowing us up about it, so we put that in the store. We also we added a t-shirt. Very, very nice shirt. Nike. We added the American flag to the sleeve, so I'll likely be wearing this at the spring game. Very excited about that. But yeah, the store is open for, I believe, 5 more days. So we got the hat, we got the tumbler, we have the flag. The flag will be in every Buffalo Wild Wings in Columbus proper. So very excited about that. So if you guys have interest, repthescoop.com. Travis, I appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much. You will look fantastic in that polo. And also, if you guys like really fine work, my boy Travis makes these. And we're going to auction one off. These barrelheads with the fancy Buckeye Scoop logo on it is going to be auctioned off at our get-together the day of the spring game, April 13th, 9 to 11:30. The game kicks off at noon, so it'll be fantastic. I hope to see all of you guys there. It'll be very family-friendly. Me, myself, Kim, and a bunch of the Goon Squad will be in the building. It'll be an absolute blast. Logan Conrad, thank you for the 10. Love the fight in the basketball team. It sucks to go out like that. When is the big thing going to change? How they officiate games. That's why Big Ten teams struggle in the tourney. Go Bucks, Nevada OH.
I-O.
Yeah, I mean, that's what stinks is, they were basically a cadaver for most of the season, and then they make the switch and they bullet Chris Holtman. They make Diebler the interim guy, and they showed a lot of life. I mean, they had a really nice run down the stretch. Obviously, they beat Purdue at Purdue, a shocking win. But hey, the team they played hard and they like that coach, and it's going to be one of those interesting decisions where I know there's a segment of the fan base and the media that wants him to be promoted to full-time. Is he really ready for that? Is it just a shot of adrenaline that all of a sudden these kids are playing hard? I don't know. But I mean, it sucks because when that's probably a tournament team. I think they'd do some damage in the tournament. But when you dig yourself this humongous hole during the season, that's what sucks. Is all of a sudden you get hot at the end of the year and, it doesn't matter. In 2005, when I played, football at Ohio State, we lost to Texas early and we lost to Penn State. And in college football, when we had the BCS champ, we had the BCS came in 2006, but we literally were out of the championship picture after week 5 because we lost 2 games to 2 of the top 5 teams in the country. And that's kind of what these guys are going through, where they got hot and these guys could have done some damage in the tournament, but they're never going to get a shot at it. Potentially going to go to the NIT and see what they can do. Nevada, what are your thoughts on the basketball coaching position? I mean, I'm a Sean Miller guy. I like Sean Miller a lot. You get him and Sanderson as your strength coach. I think you got a really good combo there. Where are you at with the basketball search? Is it Dusty May? Do you promote Diebler? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I think a couple of things. Now that they've kind of expanded the field, so what's there, 68 teams in the field or something like that? If you can't make the top 68 teams in the country, if it's close, then it's hard to make a real argument. It's hard to be too sad panda about it, even though I would have loved to see them play more basketball. I would have loved to see them maybe make the move on Holtman earlier, or the team respond a little bit earlier, because the team sure was fun to watch. But let's face it, we did, if we're voted out, we're not one of the top 68 teams in the country. So it's not like the BCS days where there was 2. It's 68. So that's number one. Two, I think I'm coming around to Diebler. And to me, that's a change in position. And I always say I reserve the right to change my mind based upon new information. But I just liked the way the team played. I know small sample size, but I'm just not sure if you're going to do a lot better. I think every coach that comes is going to come with some risk, is going to come with some potential baggage or whatever it is. And with Diebler, I'm prizing more and more just kind of like understanding Ohio, connection to Ohio, understanding rivalries, understanding being part, what it means to be a Buckeye. And I don't know. I just feel like he kind of fits fits what we're looking for, fits what we need. And if you went to him and you do some sort of contract where if he's not working, you'll know pretty quickly. If it's not working out in a couple of years, look, you can reshuffle the deck and kind of go elsewhere. But you might have your guy, and not even know it. So this is a change in position for Nevada. But I would go Diebler. I really would.
Does it feel like he's done more than Luke Fickell did?
I mean, to me, yes. I think that, with Fickell, I've always felt that anybody could coach Ohio State football and, win 6 games or, do whatever. I really, really do believe that. I think for Diebler, Diebler took over the ship in the middle of the season when, things were dire. Things were bad. And he managed to make a connection with those guys in a really short period of time to get them to buy in, to get them to play defense, to get them to do the type of things that result in winning basketball. And I think that's different than having an entire off season or whatever you're going to, entire fall camp or whatever you have to kind of go through and just kind of out talent people with Ohio State football. I think he would, I think Diebler really did a credible job, but I understand the Fickell comparisons, and I think I might have even made some of the Fickell comparisons. So I just don't know. I don't know if Sean Miller's really a viable option right now, and I'm not sure if Dusty May is the right guy. But I don't know. Like I said, I'm Team Diebler right now, and I'm not sure why. And maybe I'll change my mind tomorrow. But right now, I'm Team Diebler.
Yeah, I think that you got to kind of audit the locker room. Obviously, a lot of those guys are moving on. But they played hard for the guy. You can't deny that. That's the thing. And in basketball, it's much easier to coach basketball than football because if you have 2 or 3 good players, you're in good shape, and a couple role players. And football, it's like if you don't have a quarterback, you're screwed. And again, in 11, Luke didn't have a quarterback. He had Joe Bauserman, and then he had freshman Braxton Miller. And again, I love Braxton to death. Great kid. But his freshman year, he was a total space cadet. He wasn't ready to play. He didn't work hard. It was a disaster. And again, you needed a guy like Urban to come on and put his foot on Braxton's throat and make him more than just a guy who gets by on talent. You got to make him into a grinder and a worker. And that's what Urban was excellent at. If Braxton doesn't have a guy like Urban, who knows how it turns out. But with a guy like Urban, he can maximize Braxton and Carlos. I've talked to nauseam about how he could develop guys that maybe weren't the hardest workers in the world. But with Urban, you didn't have a choice. Like, you're either going to work really hard or you're going to go play somewhere else. And Braxton decided to work really hard and became one of the great quarterbacks in school history. And a guy that, frankly, if we didn't have him on that 12 roster, we probably lose 6 games with Urban as the head coach, because that's how, mediocre we were at the quarterback position. Now, actually, with Kenny G, we would have been all right. But we probably still lost 3 or 4 without Braxton. Pooh Bear 12, thanks for being an ultra. Everything for the 10. Fields to the Steelers for 6 or conditional 4th. Team Source says Fields will be the backup, I'm sure. Between not trying to get him talent and then trading him to a poor quarterback situation, the Bears did him dirty. I don't know. I think it's his business. Again, I thought a month to 6 weeks ago when all this went down and they got that number 1 pick, which again, that trade is probably the best trade in NFL history. The Bryce Young trade where they netted a first round pick last year where they took their right tackle, the number one overall pick this year, DJ Moore, and then they got like I don't know if they got like a couple of twos or a couple of threes, but like um I think the fourth round pick they actually swapped for Keenan Allen. So that trade netted them a starting right tackle, Keenan Allen, Caleb Williams. Again, if Caleb Williams stinks, obviously this goes down the tubes, but it's just the draft capital you get with the number one overall pick. All for Bryce Young. I mean, that's why when you work for an egomaniac owner who's an idiot and he's emotional and he makes plans on emotion like David Tepper. Like, and again, if you guys don't know who David Tepper is the richest owner in the entire NFL, richer than Jerry Jones, Stan Kroenke, all the big names. Obviously, the Haslams, like whoever. David Tepper is the richest owner in the NFL, but he's also exceptionally volatile. He's a very, very loose cannon. Fired Frank Wright like 12 games into the season in year one of his contract. So he's got to pay Frank Wright for the next like 4 years or whatever. And he wanted to get a franchise quarterback last year. So Ryan Poles took him to the absolute cleaners. Took a really good Pro Bowl wide receiver in DJ Moore. Took the 2 first round picks. Obviously they had the number one pick heading their way, but they got 2 number ones. I want to say they got like a 3 and a 2. I mean, they got like just an absolute haul for that pick, and they're gonna get Caleb Williams out of it. But I just think with Justin, the market just wasn't there for him. Again, I think that Ryan Poles was trying to get a 2 or a 3 or whatever, and people don't believe in Justin Fields. Because like a second round pick really isn't that much to me. I mean, I've seen the Browns take terrible second round picks for 25 years outside of Nick Chubb. So that's not a huge gambit, if you're getting a guy who could be your franchise quarterback. Now, the problem with Justin is he's basically on a 1-year deal. So you got to figure out if he's good because you're not going to pick up his 5th-year option for $30 million unless he's the guy. If he supplants Russell Wilson, which again, if you got to game this out in your head as an NFL fan and a Steeler fan, Russell Wilson will stink. He's not very mobile. Their line's not very good, and people want Justin Fields. But Justin Fields in there who runs a 4.4 and can scoot. All of a sudden, he'll run around, he'll make plays, he'll move the ball, move the chains, and Steelers got a decision to make. And I think Justin Fields is a better quarterback than Russell Wilson is at this point. But your thoughts, Nevada? Did the Bears do Justin Fields dirty by waiting this long and not getting him talent?
I think they did themselves dirty. I just think it's just typical, just Bears. I think that teams right now are kind of overvaluing the concept of getting a franchise quarterback at the top of the draft. And I think unless the guy is just an absolute sure thing, can't miss, you go back through history and you just see how many teams would have been better had they traded down and went for more draft capital. And we've talked about Trey Lance, we've talked about Mitch Trubisky. I mean, the Bears traded up 3 first-round picks for Mitch Trubisky. If they just stayed where they would, they could have taken Patrick Mahomes. So it's like, at some point you kind of outthink yourself on this stuff. And I think, the Bears are thinking that Caleb Williams is the guy. I don't think Caleb Williams is the guy. I don't think he's got that dog in him. But we'll see. I mean, that's the good thing with I never dreamed that I thought CJ would be good, but I thought it would take time and I thought it would take more resources around him. I didn't think he'd be as good as he was, as quick as he was. No chance. So, I thought the Bryce Young thing was pretty predictable, but CJ balled out beyond. Yeah, I mean, just historic first year. So you never know. You never say never. But I'm sure glad the Bears have a rookie QB, and I actually think that. I really do think it's a good spot for Justin, and I actually think Justin's going to be the guy because I don't. Russell Wilson doesn't want to be there. I'm not sure what his motivation level is just way lower than Justin's is right now, and that's going to become obvious to the Steelers and to Tomlin. And that's the one thing they don't put up with there in Pittsburgh is kind of half effort, and I think that's what you're going to get out of Russell Wilson, and you'll get it all from Justin, and I think that's why he'll be the guy there for a while.
Yeah, I totally agree. There were a bunch of 1-year deals. Jerome Baker just signed with the Seahawks on a 1-year deal for $7 million. Jordan Fuller, one of the most underrated Buckeyes of all time, signed with the Carolina Panthers, 1 year, 5.2 million. So it's been a very lucrative offseason for the Bucks. Obviously, Jonah Jackson got a $51 million deal. So it's be interesting. Chase Young is still out there too. Chase is he's kind of a death story in his career. I mean, he's really got to pick it up to stay in the league and stay relevant after he had the knee injuries and didn't really play hard. Or he actually didn't play hard at all for the 49ers, so they didn't even try to re-up him. So it's going to be interesting to see where some of these guys land. And again, the only reason I bring up the NFL stuff with the deals is because it never hurts in recruiting when these kids say, "Oh, this these guys are getting long term." You know, like if I'm Justin Fry and I'm talking to guards and recruiting, I'm saying, "Hey, well, we had Jonah Jackson here, you know, in 2019, and he got $51 million. He got one of the richest guard deals in NFL history over 3 years to play for the Rams." So this is the kind of stuff that we can do at Ohio State. Josh Dillon, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. Oh boy, Michigan's falling apart, and I'm so here for it. Go Bolts and OH. Yeah, I don't know if you're down in Tampa, Josh, but I got to get down to Tampa soon. But the Bolts are a dynasty right now. They're doing good with Kucherov and Stamkos. Those guys are getting old, and Victor Hedman, but they are absolute monsters and all first ballot Hall of Famers. Donald and Karen Rosbeck, thank you for being a Scoop Ultra member. Thank you for the 5 as always, and thank you for the hilarity of commenting on the post this morning. I know you guys know what I'm talking about on BuckeyeScoop.com. Somebody got a little loose last night and they got smacked pretty hard, so we appreciate you guys commenting on that. But it was interesting. Just came over my phone. The Steelers are working on extension with Fields, his agent, right now. Nevada OH. That would be mildly surprising to me, just because it's not because I don't like Justin Fields, but like you'd think you'd want to at least see what the kid's made of. I mean, if I'm Justin, like there's no point in signing an extension right now. You know, you want to go out and play and hit free agency and have a real shot at making like serious cash. Because I mean, if they're working on an extension right now after he just got, you know, basically given away, like it's not going to be anywhere near the money that David Mugliata wants. I mean, David Mugliata is the best agent in sports right now. He represents Jalen Ramsey, Justin Fields, Micah Parsons. I mean, he is the guy right now. And that's Justin's agent. And that dude you do not get a coupon book when you're negotiating with that dude. So I mean, unless the Steelers are ready to commit to a guy who they're, you know, I don't know why you'd be in any sort of a hurry to negotiate with a guy who you're essentially naming as your backup this year, unless you're just trying to have him make a bunch of money and then Russell Wilson is sent out to pasture after this year. It doesn't make sense. I just think that because again, they've got him this year and then they have that 5th-year option. If say Russell Wilson falls flat on his face, which I think he will, I think he's got nothing left in the tank, you know, and you promote, you know, Justin to be your starting quarterback for the Steelers, like, you know, I mean, if he's awesome, you could pick up his 5th-year option for next year and you still control him for, you know, it's like 25 to 30 million bucks, which again, that is a crap ton of money. But in the NFL world, like for a starting quarterback, that's kind of middle of the road, which again, I know that sounds crazy. Again, this being average, you know, folks, but that's middle of the road. 28 million bucks. Like, I mean, Mahomes is 50, Burrow's like 45, 46. So, you know, it's good. And then you can figure out where he's at with that deal. But I don't think there's any real reason to go and go ham and give Justin a big extension. Nevada, would you be shocked if Justin got an extension before the season? It makes no sense.
Well, you know, it's all about buying low. You know, if they could get in, they're saying to Justin, look, we'll make a commitment to you. You know, we'll buy low and trying to, you know, you've talked about trying to get that quarterback performance and get that, you know, the type of productivity and not have to pay the top dollar. This might be one of the ways to do it. Is, you know, Justin Fields is kind of like the stuff that's on the bargain, you know, bin right now, and you kind of grabbed him. And, you know, if he sits behind Russell Wilson, what's his market? You know, then he'd put himself years away on that. If you were able to go to him and say, look, we'll give you some guaranteed money. We'll give you a, you know, some sort of a deal, some sort of a make good type of deal. I mean, I can see it. I can see it. There'd be benefit to both parties for doing it, but it'd be risky. It'd be risky for the Steelers, and it sure as heck would be risky for Justin Fields. But, you know, sometimes those deals are the ones that get made. So that wouldn't shock me at all.
Yeah, I think it'll be very interesting to see how that all pans out. Because again, like I'm sure they're going to try to offer Justin a deal that's beneficial for both sides, but it's the classic: do you bet on yourself versus do you want the stability? And again, the Steelers are one of the top five organizations in the NFL. Mike Tomlin is a Hall of Fame coach. So do you want to play for those guys because they treat players right? I mean, people they love being Pittsburgh Steelers, and it's because the ownership's consistent. I mean, they've had like what three coaches in the last 40 years or whatever with Tomlin, Cowher, and Chuck Noll. So it's a different brand of football in Pittsburgh, and I hope Justin thrives there. I think he'll do awesome there, and it'll be funny if Justin Fields becomes a starter and absolutely kills the Browns because I can just foresee that happening. Tony Turley, my man, Scoop Hall of Fame member, Scoop Ultra member. Thank you for the 20. Caleb Williams is Johnny Manziel with painted fingernails. He will never win an NFL playoff game. Nevada OH.
I
I think that he might be onto something there. Again, Caleb Williams is a guy who's he says some very oddball stuff. He doesn't seem super interested in football. Again, and there was some stuff that I just don't believe. Like, I don't believe he'd be dumb enough to actually say that he's not going to go to a team unless he gets a percentage of equity in the team. I mean, but that was like a big rumor. It's like, oh, he's not going to go somewhere unless he can get I'm like, do you know what a percentage of equity is in an NFL franchise? Hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, there's no way that anyone's ever going to give that to some idiot quarterback with black fingernail polish on. Um, but what do you think of that? Is Caleb Johnny Manziel? That's a good comparison.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's got the same types of issues with Johnny Manziel, but he definitely brings different issues. I mean, during the team interviews, and he's really big on kind of referring to himself in the third person. Like when you sign Caleb Williams, you got to. It's like I always find that odd when people do that, and I think a lot of teams find it kind of odd and off putting. And I know the people at USC very well, and they kind of like you, they question his kind of commitment to football. They don't know, this is a kid who's made a lot of money these last years. I don't think anybody made more money the last couple of years than Caleb Williams did. We can talk all you want about Caleb Downs and the big contract, but I mean the money that Caleb Williams makes is dwarfing all that stuff. And they just really wonder how committed he is to his trade and how much he really wants to be a great football player. And I mean, we'll see. I've learned that the NFL draft is very imperfect, and that my understanding of the draft is certainly imperfect. I've had some notable hits in the draft, and I've had some notable misses in the draft. So, I like to bet, but I wouldn't bet on stuff like that. But Caleb Williams, just to me, seems like there's a lot of warning signs flashing that tell me that it's risky to take him at the top of the draft, especially when I think that there are, Drake. I like him every bit as much as Caleb Downs, and I think Caleb Williams. That you could trade down, get a ton of capital, and still get a quarterback that I think is every bit as good as the one you wanted, or the one that everybody else covets. So I don't know. Have some concerns. The people at USC have kind of expressed that over the time. So to me, the lights are flashing, and like I said, I wouldn't risk it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's the guy he's been in Hollywood, obviously, as a returning Heisman Trophy winner who's in Los Angeles. Like, I can't imagine, a set of variables that would make you more prolific in the NIL world than that. I mean, obviously, when you're a guy that wins a Heisman and you still have your eligibility left, like, national brands are going to want you, local brands are going to want you, donors are going to be next to you. So again, again, he's shown his apartment. I mean, his apartment is insane in Los Angeles. And again, that's fine. I'm not worried about that. But, how hard is this guy going to work? Or is he going to be a guy that's just obsessed with his brand and building his brand off the field and, all that other stuff? 'Cause again, he's going to be in a big market. But Chicago is a vicious market towards the quarterbacks, man. It is vicious. And I mean, I played there, man, and we didn't have anybody near as good as Justin Fields or Caleb Williams. We had Kyle Orton and Rex Grossman. And I mean, that media, they will eat those guys alive. So, but Chicago's a big market. So again, he's going to make a lot of money off the field. Obviously, it's, the trifecta is kind of New York, Chicago, LA, and he's going to one of them, leaving one to go to the Midwestern version of LA. And I think that it's going to be interesting to see how hard does he want to grind, how good does he want to be. Is he going to be, because he doesn't strike me as a guy that's a grinder. He fell off he fell off the earth this year, production wise, and the team was projected to be a playoff-ish type team, and they stunk. And he got smacked by Utah in that Pac-12 championship game 2 years ago when we needed Utah to win to get into the playoffs. And I don't know. There's just mega warning signs. A lot of warts on that kid, and I like Drake May. Drake May seems like he's all business. He's a football guy. He comes from a lot. Better pedigree, more low-key profile. He's more Josh Allen, and I think Caleb's more Baker Mayfield. One's a good player, Pro Bowler like Baker is, but Josh Allen's an NFL MVP. Like they're just different levels to that, and one's a little bit less flashy, one's bigger, better. So I mean, it just kind of is what it is. I think Caleb Williams is like Baker Mayfield, a little bit taller, but I think that's what he ends up being. Sean Rollins, thank you for the 20. Thanks for being an Ultra member. Appreciate you, man. Salute to the service members. Thank you for what you've done and you guys do. Kirk in Nevada, stay fresh, fellas. You guys are killing it daily. Appreciate you, Sean. I hope you're killing it up in Worcester, my man. Again, my old lady is saying that I need to shout out the North Carolina Scoop fans because there are a lot of comments that I don't talk about the North Carolina Scoop fans. I talk about everyone else. But so the North Carolina Scoop fans, appreciate you. Sean up in Worcester, appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. Karis Washington, thank you for the 10. Thanks for being a Scoop Ultra member. I heard that you're not going to be able to make the Scoop outing on April 13th. I got that from, I believe, a family member of yours. So I hope that changes. I hope you guys can come through. Love to see you, though. They did Justin Fields wrong. Horrible coaching and no offensive line. They should have kept him. However, this will be better for Justin, at least not with the Packers, so I can root for him. Nevada OH. I think for me, this was the ultimate solution just because, again, I keep going back to it. And I've said it 50 times, but I'll say it again. Resetting that quarterback contract is so critical in the NFL because you can spend, Keenan Allen is a wide receiver who's going to make $34 million this year. I looked up his contract, and that's why he got moved for a 4. So if you don't have a crap load of salary cap space, you can't afford Keenan Allen. And that's why the Chargers wanted him to take a pay cut. Keenan just had the best year of his career. He had 150 targets, 108 catches. This was stunning. He had 108 catches, 1,243 yards, 0 touchdowns, which is crazy when you have 108 catches. But he had the best year of his life, and he's not going to take a pay cut. So he got shipped to Chicago, who has oodles of cap space, and they only had to give up a 4 to get him. So I think the Bears, they said, hey, if we get Justin out of here and we have a cheaper backup quarterback and we don't have to do his 5th-year option, then we can bring Caleb in for 5 years. And basically for 4 years, Caleb Williams is going to be making lower quarter of the NFL starting quarterback money. So that's beneficial for Ryan Poles and the cap run, and you get a little injection of juice from the local media and the fan base when you have the number 1 overall pick, and he's this alleged superstar quarterback. Again, I think Caleb Williams is, to me, he's Baker Mayfield or he's Kyler Murray. He's one of those types of guys. Really athletic. He'll make Pro Bowls. He'll be good in fantasy football. But is he a winner? Is he a grinder? Or is he a cancer? Because Kyler Murray is kind of a cancer. Baker obviously has bounced from Cleveland, got cut or got traded to Carolina for nothing. Got cut by Carolina, picked up by the Rams, was there till the end of the season. They didn't really try to re-sign him because obviously they had Stafford making a ton of money. He goes to Tampa on a prove-it deal and did great. And he signs a 3-year, $100 million deal. So, but I feel like that's what Caleb Williams is going to end up being in terms of his arc in the NFL. Nevada, do you feel like the Bears did Justin Fields wrong?
Yeah, I mean, look, that's always the classic thing of, could they have done more to support him, when he was there and give him the type of resources? I said the same thing about Aaron Rodgers for years with the Packers. So, I think they probably weren't patient enough. And I think that's the one thing that Green Bay's got going over these other franchises. Green Bay's not owned by an owner; they're owned by the community. They're one of the few businesses in the world that can sell stock and raise $100-200 million in stock that's not worth anything. That's literally just a piece of paper that you hang on your wall and says, "I own a piece of stock." There's no dividends, there's no share rights, there's no residual value, but that's the power of that brand. So, but I think that gives them the right to be patient and gives them the luxury of being patient. And I just think teams aren't patient enough. They want to win immediately. They want to do those things. I think the Bears were kind of in that situation where Just Fields, where they're going to kind of get rid of him, go on to the shiny new toy, and Caleb Williams. And I agree. I like the Baker Mayfield analogy, because I think that's an accurate one, because I think that I really do believe that's who Caleb Williams is. I think he's Baker Mayfield with probably a little bit more arm talent, a little bit more size, but not much. And like I said, I think he'll probably have a similar career trajectory.
Yeah, and like, Baker is a douchebag. We all know he's a douchebag. All Browns fans know he's a douchebag. But he turned it around this past year, had a good year, fooled the Bucks to give him $100 million. Maybe he's matured, he's grown up, but the Browns gave him away to the Panthers, and the Carolina Panthers, who were atrocious, literally cut him during the season, and then the Rams picked him up. And I'll never forget, they picked him up on like a Wednesday, and then he started on Sunday or Monday, and he beat the Raiders. Like, I'll never forget that, because I was like, that's really hard to do. So credit to Baker, but he's still a douchebag. Devin, what's up, brother? Ohio Sub 715, aka Devin, aka Wrench Brother, Scoop Ultra member. Thank you for the 20. Appreciate you, brother. Michigan sucks. Stay strapped, Buckeye family. 2024, 2025 at Natty Lock. Nevada OH. I would love to get the Wrench Brothers to the April 13th meetup. I don't know if that'll happen, but in season, we'll have another meetup, and those boys will both be there. I'm really excited about that. Think it'll be absolutely fantastic. The statement on the D-line coach, I don't think we read it in the entirety. Obviously, this is a little big, but this is what Sharon Moore said. He said Greg made the unfortunate mistake and was arrested for operating a vehicle while intoxicated. He made no excuses and has taken accountability for his actions. The football program and athletic department have suspended Greg indefinitely while we review the details of the instance. Nevada, do they retain him, or is he fired in your opinion?
I think they gotta fire him. I just think with everything else, I think, look, if it was an isolated incident, he didn't have a history of it, and there weren't other bonfires going on all throughout the athletic program and the football program, I think maybe you survive it. But I think given everything else that's going on, I do not believe Sharon Moore's got a choice. I think he's going to, after the review, they're going to agree, and he's going to, Greg will say, we've come to a mutual agreement that I'm going to part ways and seek help for my issues and blah, 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 blah. But I don't see any way that he survives this. I think even Michigan at some point gets tired of the scandals, because they've got a ton of scandals going on right now. And I think they just had enough. I really do.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be tough, but again, I think that's the right thing to do. Especially he's been there for 1 month, so he doesn't have a track record. So it's like that's wild to be suspended within your first month on the job. Karis Washington, thank you for the deuce. My wife Beth will be attending at Buffalo Wild Wings on 4/13. I believe, I want to make sure that I saw that. I believe that's what I read. I just want to make sure that I recalled it correctly, but that'll be fun. My wife Kim will be there. We're gonna have a blast. I think that people are gonna have a lot of fun. Special prizes. We're gonna raffle some stuff off. I think it's gonna blow the doors out of Buffalo Wild Wings. We'll probably raffle off some gift cards, maybe some merchandise. I think it's gonna be really fun. So I'm really, really excited about it, and I think you guys are gonna have a blast. All you guys that show up will be richly rewarded by having the chance to meet a lot of BuckeyeScoop.com members, a lot of BuckeyeScoop.com YouTube people. It's gonna be a blast. Well, Nevada, Saturday night, really nice Saturday night. Let's wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts, Nevada?
No, just thanks everybody for being here. The store, we said the store's only probably going to be open for 3 or 4 more days. It's a drop. So when the store closes, it's closed. So if you want to get your stuff, okay, speak now or forever hold your peace, because it's going to be a while until we have another one. So if you want stuff, like I said, don't hold off. You got to get it while it's there, because once it's gone, it's going to be gone. But I appreciate everybody being here.
Yeah, we appreciate you too. And I'm going to switch to the QR code. So if you guys want to launch the store, if you guys are watching on TV, an iPad, your computer, whatever, hold your phone up, get the camera out. The QR code will activate. It'll take you right to the store. Otherwise, it's repthescoop.com, repthescoop.com. That is in our little info section on our YouTube channel. It's also it's in every episode's summary. So appreciate you guys as always. Again, this is the QR code to launch the store. So if you guys see this and you guys are forgetting about the store, you guys can always come back in and watch this, and this will launch it right away. But the gear is awesome. Thank you so much to everybody that has bought gear, because we've had an insane amount of people buy stuff. I think the stuff's very high quality. We added a couple of new things today. We added a new t-shirt. This is Buckeye Scoop across the chest. Nike, very good quality stuff. American flag on the arm. And we also added a very nice Nike polo that I think you guys will love. Very classy, coach's polo looking deal. So, but with that being said, we're going to wrap this thing up. Again, we appreciate you guys, as always, for kicking with us on your Saturday night. I hope you guys are having fun. I hope you guys are having a great weekend. Hope you guys were productive today. You guys went out and cleaned out the garage. That's what I was doing all morning. It's always good to get that spring cleaning out of the way before you get to some really outdoorsy time, potentially going outside, golfing, swimming, whatever you guys like to do. But I appreciate you guys as always. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate you guys kicking us. We're about 100 away from 30,000 subscribers, so keep spreading the good word. Text us to your friends, share it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever you guys feel. It's all huge, and we appreciate you guys. As always, shout out where you guys are watching from. Shout out who you guys are watching with. Again, to our people that were affected by the tornadoes, we're thinking about you. We're praying for you. We hope that everything can be put back together. Again, we know there were casualties. It was an awful, awful night. And we're thinking about all of you that were affected by that. So, again, we just appreciate you guys so much. Pull your neighbors through it and just be there for them. But as always, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. We'll catch you guys tomorrow, 7 o'clock. We'll be ready to rock. Go Bucks.